Hi, I'm Dan Fury, and in this video I'm going to do what we in the vinyl community and audio enthusiasts like to do sometimes on YouTube, which is a room tour video. And I haven't done one of these in a while. I have done two in this house in two other rooms. I've lived here for 10 years, and I've been upstairs for the last 3 plus. And I've had it pretty well set up the same for at least the last couple of years, and it's been really great. And before anything changes, I wanted to kind of document it and share it with anyone who would be interested in what kind of gear I use, how I use it, what I've kept for a long time, what's maybe a lot is different from the last room tour for sure. So if you're interested, come with me. So briefly, at the top of the stairs, we had some various record jackets on the wall, along with some other artwork, show posters. The sword back there is from World War II. My grandfather brought that home from Japan. IKEA chair. This lamp is from my grandmother's house. I always liked that. And over here, just some storage, CDs, tape, shelves back there. And this piece here I got at a Goodwill years and years ago. Always liked it. What I assume is a photo from the 60s or 70s on a piece of wood. And I've carried it with me to different homes ever since. Dresser, some DVDs, a very DIY bookshelf that I did because, the way the ceiling is, it's hard to get a regular bookshelf in here. But it works. Okay, so through this very narrow entrance is the main room. Obviously an attic at some point that was converted. There is a nook where I put my bed. I have some random and some purposeful pieces of material for sound dampening. Okay, so here we have the record inbox. It's finally not completely full. I've been listening to a lot and buying less. Underneath is a crate of records that are for sale on Discogs. I guess I'll leave a link to that in the description if you'd like to look. Again, some very DIY acoustic treatment. This is actually, I believe it's 2-inch foam, very soft, that I wrapped in a bed sheet of all things. And it was too soft to really hang to the wall without kind of drooping down. So I created a little support for it with wood blocks, and it's worked out just fine. It evens out the reflections on this side of the room compared to the other side, which I'll show you. This is a tenor guitar. It's 4 strings. Very fun to play, open tuning, kind of in between a ukulele and an acoustic guitar. And I wanted one for a very long time. Finally saw one that was pretty inexpensive at a local store. I went for it. It's been really nice to have around. A vintage side table, another IKEA chair. This is a Vox Valvetronics kind of practice amp. It has a lot of amp modeling and effects built into it, but it also has a tube. It's great for this space and practicing, which I should do more of, but I got it during the pandemic because I found myself having a little more time and wanted to play more music, and it's been great. This is an acoustic guitar from the brand Carlos, which is a South Korean manufacturer. I think this was from the late 70s, and I got it used as is for, I think, $50. I love it. The neck has more of a classical guitar shape, so it's a little bit unusual, but it's got a nice big sound. Some electric guitars. This first one is a Japanese Jaguar baritone from Fender, which is very fun to play. Unfortunately, it's not mine. Holding on to it for a friend, but it's been really nice to have around. Got some great tones out of it, so you can get some pretty heavy stuff. This red Strat I have had since I was 15. I'll probably have it forever. And that Telecaster is a Squire that I also got during the pandemic. It was really cheap. I just wanted to have that Telecaster sound. But for such an inexpensive instrument, it's pretty darn good. And just have a few pedals, a TC Electronic flashback, and an analog chorus from MXR, and a Polytune tuner pedal. Okay, we'll finally get into the stuff that everyone would like to see. Starting with the panels you see, these are actual professional acoustic panels that I finally got a couple of years ago. I ordered them from ATS, and I can leave a link to them. I think they turned out really well. The material I thought blended in with the room a little bit. The one in the back is a 4-inch thick bass trap, and the one on the side is a 2-inch general tuning. And they made a big difference. I'm glad I got them. Really tightened things up around the speakers. Speaking of which, I've had these Sony floor standing speakers. I always mess up the name of it, but I believe it's SSF 6000. I got those about 12 years ago, and I have not felt the need to get rid of them. I'd like to have some technically better towers at some point, but they still work quite well. I actually took them out and was just using the other two for a while, and I kind of missed them, so I put them back in. And I'll show you how I drive everything in a little bit. I usually have these stored away, but these are the Odyssey LCDX headphone. As you can see, they're pretty massive. These are planar magnetic, and I generally use these more for monitoring application. I do some mixing, mastering, audio post-production work, and I invested in these to kind of take the room out of the equation and still have a very good set of monitors that would give me a really detailed picture while I work on things. And they are fantastic for that. That's kind of what they're known for. They are really expensive, but I invested in these rather than several times the price in speakers that I just don't have the room to put them in. So these have been great. I really should use them more though. They are so expensive. Not very expensive though are the KEF Q150. I think the retail price is something like $600, but they're often available for around $300, which is how I got them. And they've been great. Nice bookshelf speaker, very clear. The tweeter in there with the Q array just has a very nice stereo image, and I really enjoy them. It really clears things up in the mid-range, especially in conjunction with the Sonys. Provides a pretty full picture. An interesting and colorful picture is provided by these Akai SW155. These are from the late 70s, as you can tell by that wonderful grill. These are pretty large. They got a big driver, and I believe they're rated down to 20 hertz, so they can be pretty beefy. And running these underneath the other two really gets things nice and full. So rather than spending several $1,000s on one set of great speakers, which I probably will someday, I have some pretty inexpensive speakers that I use together, and they really do sound great. Okay, and in the middle is the kind of digital part. More speakers. These are the Atom A5X studio monitors, which are really fantastic. That ribbon tweeter is awesome, really detailed in the high end and the mid-range. I've had these for a couple of years now. They've been really great for just general purpose and for monitoring audio. I used to have a couple of, I'd say, 21-inch monitors. Finally got a 4K 27-inch. Down here we got plenty of terabytes of storage, along with a Mac Mini. This is the M1 version. I finally converted completely to the Mac ecosystem. Took me a long time, but it really was the right thing to do. It's kind of made things a lot better just across the board. This is the RME ADI2 DAC, digital audio converter. It's the heart of the digital system, and it's another piece that I really invested in for more work applications, but it's just fantastic for everything. It sounds amazing. It's really versatile. It's really capable. It does things and is capable of things I have not even delved into yet, but I knew it was worth investing in this, and it's been really, really great so far. I have some hooks underneath the desk. These are usually hanging from, but these are the Sennheiser HD 600. I have had these for something like 7 years, and these are probably my go-to, especially for listening to music for fun. But even in professional applications, they're phenomenal. They just have such a clear picture, well-balanced, comfortable, and really not that expensive. These have been out for a long time. You can get many iterations of them, but by and large, they're I think one of the best pairs of headphones under $1,000 that you could possibly get. And if anyone is curious, this CalDigit unit expands the inputs and outputs for the Mac, which has pretty limited I/O, and it works very well. Underneath is, well, a mess of cables, but there's also a monoprice subwoofer. I believe it's a 10-inch, pretty standard, nothing special, but it really fills in the low end for the atoms, which are fantastic. They only go down to about 50 hertz. So if you want a fuller picture, you're going to need a subwoofer with them. And so adding that subwoofer in really made all the difference. Also hanging underneath the desk are these Audio-Technica M40X headphones, which I also use for multiple applications. And for how inexpensive these are, which they used to be around $100, they're fantastic. When I'm recording a podcast or even editing one, I've even used them for mixing to some degree. They translate really well to the studio monitors, I find. I would highly recommend these all the way around. These are another makeshift panel, just pretty standard foam wrapped in a tapestry that I found. Just something to have in the background that'll provide a little bit of treatment, but mostly for aesthetics. Up here, some records on the left and right that are warped but look cool, so I put them on the wall. And a special like spray paint piece of art that my friend gave me on a vinyl record of the Fight Club characters. These lights that you probably noticed in my videos, these are Philips Hue lamps. And you can control them via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, change the colors and the light intensity, set all kinds of scenes. I actually have Philips Hue lights in the ceiling and in one of my lamps, so I can pretty much control the whole room. And it's a little bit expensive, but man, is it nice to have. Also, along the side walls, I have a couple different kinds of fairly inexpensive treatment just to keep the reflections on the side down. They work okay. Okay, here is the, I guess you would call it the main event. This is the stereo. I've had all of these pieces for a while now. Some of them you may have seen in the last room tour from years ago. Probably the newest is the Rotel A11 Tribute, which I've enjoyed quite a bit. It's under $1,000. I found that since I wanted to run several sets of speakers, I could use this as the front end for most of it. It's got a lot of great inputs. Phono stage is pretty good, I think. Drives 2 sets of speakers. Really clean sound. I found the headphone output to be great as well. And then it goes into the trusty Pioneer SX750 that I've had since, I believe, 2011. It's also from the late 70s. It's wonderful. It's got that warm vintage tone. Everything still works great, even though it's at least 45 years old. And you just can't beat this stuff. If you can get it, definitely get it. So the Rotel is powering the Kef and the Sonys, and the Pioneer is just driving the Akais, which really provides a big warm tone underneath the clarity. So the combination of everything is pretty great to me. The turntable that I've had, I would say going on 4.5 years now, is the Hitachi PS38. direct drive table. Love this thing. It's got some quirks. The feet, when I got it, were really compressed, and so the turntable was very uneven from front to back. So I just took them off and just placed it on some cork and rubber feet. So it just kind of sits there. Hopefully one day I can find a solution for replacement feet, but this works just fine. This is the Audio-Technica VM540ML. It's a microline stylus and a wonderful cartridge. I decided, even though the turntable was, pretty good, what would really make the difference was the cartridge and its stylus. And I took my time to find the right one, and I love this thing. It sounds fantastic. Very rarely is there any inner groove distortion. And I'm actually confident that if there is, it's really not the fault of the cartridge. It's the record itself. I've had it almost as long as the turntable. It's been a great pairing. I really can't say enough about it. Audio-Technica makes great cartridges, and I think this is one of the best that you can get for under $500. I have the Hunt EDA Mark VI brush. I like how it has a felt pad in the middle of the bristles. I usually use this on a first pass of a dusty record. And always the trusty AudioQuest brush. This one has the gold bar. I've been using some version of this brush for many, many years. Always use it before playing a record. And of course, the J.A. Michelle record clamp that I've made a video about that is definitely the most viewed video on this channel. Still use it, still love it, use it every time. It's pretty indispensable for me. And if anyone's curious, this is just a acacia wood cutting board that I got at, I think, Home Goods to use as a platform. Underneath, I don't know if you can see, but there's a Hudson Hi-Fi rubber feet. They're kind of the half tennis ball size. Last stylus cleaner, I've had that for a long time. Onkyo C7030 CD player. Had that for many years now. It's great DAC in it. Definitely no complaints there. Gotta say, I don't use it a ton. As long as it keeps working, I'll just keep it indefinitely. And this is the Nakamichi LX5 cassette deck. This came out in the early 80s, I want to say 1981. And back then it would have cost about $850, which would be a lot now, but you do the currency conversion, and I think it's over $2,000. I got this for, I think, just over $200. Nakamichi has made some of the best and most renowned cassette decks, this being one of them, I think. But I have enjoyed it very much. Cassettes certainly have never sounded better, and I don't know that I could do better than this. And so again, as long as I can keep this working, I think I will have it indefinitely. And for the records, classic IKEA shelf, old Expedit model. I've had that for over 10 years. Still works great. The 1x3 here is a similar style, pretty close to the Expedit, but I believe it's from Better Homes and Gardens. And I have another one of those on the other side of this TV here. Pretty standard 42-inch Vizio, really inexpensive. I really don't watch TV all that much anymore. And just to go through this briefly, there's a Apple TV under there. I think it's the best streamer. I hesitated for a long time to get it, but it's been great. Sony Blu-ray player, I had that for a while. Sony speakers that I've also had for a while that kind of match those towers. This Sony home theater receiver I've had for 15 years, a little bit more, and it just still works. And it works great. And I've looked into replacing it several times with something that has HDMI and all that, but it still works. So, still have it. And an old Panasonic VCR DVD combo that I have rarely used, but it's nice to have. And I believe that about covers it. All right, there we have it. I think I covered everything. Let me know if you have any questions. Of course, any comments you have. Normally I film my videos in this room looking that way. So here's the other view. Yeah, I unfortunately don't think I'll be in this house very much longer. It's a little weird. Been here a long time. Really enjoyed this space. And thanks for letting me share it with you. We'll see what the next one looks like. So, till next time, take care and enjoy your music.